Welcome everybody to the Neutral Zone Infraction. Hey, we've got an actual name for this podcast now. It's incredible. It's been fun. Surprisingly, we've actually got a shitload of views on the YouTubes and a little bit on our design. So you can catch us on Facebook at NZ Infraction. Same thing with the Twitter account. You can catch us on Twitter at... second here because I'm not professional. It is going to be T Infraction on the Twitter account. So, as always, joining me this week, I'm going to introduce them one by one. My awesome, lovely, amazing podcast members. Introducing first, I'm going to be introducing Johan Jonathan Neckridge. How are you going, Jonathan? How are you?
Doing pretty good, man. Last week was a lot of fun. Excited to get this going again, and feeling pretty good.
And always joining me as well in the great city of Towson, and lovely, lovely human being, and the actual best picker of our picks this week, Bronson Pompilio. How you doing, my friend?
Doing pretty damn good, buddy. Pretty damn good. I'll try to cut back on the heavy breathing this week, but I think we'll be Gucci.
All right, that sounds good. Yeah, you want to sound like you're like a fat guy running a marathon.
Yeah, I know, especially since I'm the sexiest one on this podcast.
Okay.
All right, so like I said, we did our predictions last week. And man, I thought we did a lot worse than we did. We actually didn't do too bad. I thought we only got like 3 correct and got them all wrong. But we actually all end up just about even. Bronson this week 8-8. Like I said, the top
crushed it.
Top picker this week.
Crushed
I was
it.
second. I was second this week at 7-9, and John, you were in last place at the 6-10 mark. How do you feel about that?
Starting from the bottom, but you know what? It's we got week 4 coming up, and still plenty of football to go. So we'll see, boys.
Absolutely. So eventually, too, we're gonna get a guest. We were gonna have a guest on tonight. Unfortunately, he was unable to make it. But we are gonna get guest pickers on the show. We're gonna have some fun with them later. But let's go on the topic of now. Going to the picks, and let's go over the scores this week of the NFL action. And then starting this week, we had probably one of the best in terms of the week 3 matchups. One of the best high scoring games, and surprisingly, very, very talented game, very, very exciting. The Atlanta Falcons versus the New Orleans Saints went into overtime. 43-37 Saints. Drew Brees, 396 yards, 3 touchdowns. Matt Ryan threw for 5 touchdowns. I mean, this is a game that we said that could really go either way. Both of them are, like I said, fantastic quarterbacks in their own rights, but in the end, the Saints get the win. Second game we talked about this week was, let me see here, I'm just getting my stuff up here, was the San Francisco 49ers versus Kansas City Chiefs, which... Patrick Mahomes looked fantastic again, but that's not the big story coming out of that game. We'll talk about this game now since it's here. Chiefs win 38-27, but of course, the biggest story out of that game probably ends the 49ers season is Jimmy Garoppolo with about 4 minutes to go, tries to make a play, tries to get an extra maybe 10 inches or so. Instead of going straight out of bounds, instead of diving, he takes a hit, plants his foot the wrong way, tears his ACL. I mean, Bronson, how doomed are the 49ers?
They're so doomed, man, and they were gonna win that fucking game. They were gonna do it, man. They held that entire Chiefs offense to no points for almost 2 quarters of football, man. And they were just driving, being down, I think, 20 points at half, and then come in and score 3 consecutive touchdowns. And they were driving on them then, and then had to settle for a field goal to eventually lose the game. But, yeah, they're done, man. Stick a fork in them. I love Kyle Shanahan as a play caller, but he has no backup plan, and that's going to haunt them the rest of the season, and that's okay, man. They'll get another top 5 pick. They'll get that receiver they desperately need or an offensive lineman. Just chalk it up to that.
Yeah, John, I know, again, Kansas City played a hell of a game. Pat Mahomes, 3 touchdowns. He's looking just incredible this last 3 weeks. He's been the first half MVP so far. The only thing that could derail him is if he throws 5 interceptions against the Denver Broncos this week. But again, what are your thoughts on the Jimmy G injury? What do you think? How do you think the San Francisco 49ers are going to end this year?
I'm right there with Bronson. Losing Garoppolo is a huge blow. They just gave him that really nice contract this past offseason. You look at their depth chart. Like what Bronson said, they don't have a backup quarterback. CJ Beathard,
yes.
And it could be a blessing in disguise. You don't want to see a quarterback go down with an injury, especially torn ACL. Luckily, I will say it did happen early in the season, so that way he does have plenty of time to get ready for next season. And if the 49ers do tank for the rest of the year, then I could see them going out and getting hopefully a wide receiver, because they have Pierre Garçon, but he hasn't really done anything this season so far for the 49ers. And if they do finish that bad by the end of the year, hopefully they can go out and get a target for Garoppolo when he comes back next.
Yeah, they've got deep threats. They've still got Marquise Goodwin. And I know that they've got a couple other wide receivers that are young. I can't think of their names right now.
Dante Pettis.
Yeah, they got Dante Pettis, who's decent deep threat, but they don't have that true number 1 guy. This was a team that before this injury, that especially if they would have won, that you could have seen them making a run at a Le'Veon Bell type. I think that ruins the trade market in that sense. I don't think the 49ers are going to waste any picks on Le'Veon Bell when they could just wait for him and potentially don't use him for the rest of this year, just because of the simple fact that I don't see him coming in until week 11. But you're right, 49ers were also in the mix of thinking of signing Dez Bryant and giving that weapon to Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't think that happens again. Now you've got CJ Beathard, who was tabbed to be the developmental guy last year before Garoppolo, and instead was played so poorly in one game that the 49ers decided to reach out and give up, a pretty low draft pick, a second-round draft pick for a franchise quarterback in Jimmy G. But ultimately, like I said, it's kind of a lost year, but it's not all bad. 49ers, like what everybody was saying, can now finish in the top 5, maybe top 10, get that wide receiver, maybe get a replacement, depending on how their left tackle, who's their left tackle?
Joe Staley.
Yeah,
he's up there.
Yeah, he was drafted in the same draft as Joe Thomas, so you could see Joe Staley definitely called a career after this year. There's guys up in the top echelon that they can go up and get, and they could even trade down depending on if certain guys fall down the board. So they have options there, and it gives Garoppolo another year to study that playbook, and we wish him the best in his recovery, because we do love Jimmy G. We do love him some Jimmy G, and Jimmy G loves him some porn stars as well. So that also boosts
before we drafted Trubisky, man, I wanted Garoppolo so bad, and then we went out and took fucking Glennon. there was all that talk that the Bears were going to get Garoppolo, man. And I used to get so stoked. I'm like, the Illinois boys coming back to Chicago.
It's just one of those things. So we can officially say pour one out for Jimmy G. It shouldn't be too bad. Like I said, he'll probably be banging a couple porn stars while he's rehabbing. So it's not too bad to be it's not too bad for Mr. Garoppolo. The next game on the docket, we've got the Dolphins that we all picked. Going and beating the Oakland Raiders 28-20. Dolphins had an amazing trick play. Ryan Tannehill had a solid game.
Had several trick plays.
I know, and Dolphins are 3-0, leading the division. I mean, that's impressive. This almost reminds me of 10 years ago. This is the 10-year anniversary of the Tony Sperano. That Wildcat formation Dolphins, where they ended up, winning the division at 10-6 and making the playoffs. So, keeping
Ronnie
the
Brown.
Patriots. Yeah. So this is kind of reminiscent of that team. Just a lot of guys who are veterans who are, you don't know where they're going to end up next year, but, they're playing for this year. They're playing some good football out there in Miami. So Adam Gase, the Chicago offensive coordinator, to round that back over.
I'll take it further back and say the Tim Tebow coordinator.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Never forget.
Yeah. And of course this week was, I think it was Upset-a-Palooza, because there's a lot of games here where you watch it, you go, what the fuck happened this week? What the fuck happened to this team? What the fuck happened to that team? Of course, the first game is Bills-Vikings. Bills come away with the victory, 27-6. I mean, looking back at that game, you have Josh Allen have a solid game. 196 yards, one touchdown.
He had a solid first half. He was pretty pedestrian in the second half, but that first half, man, he did all that damage in the first half. And
I think he demoralized that Vikings defense.
He did everything. He put the Baker Mayfield hype to rest. He got that team more hyped than the Browns were hyped. He made the Vikings look like chud muffins.
Yeah, he made Anthony Barr.
He made Anthony Barr look like a preseason potential cut, man.
Yeah, I mean it was a hell. I will say that it was a hell of a showing for Josh Allen again. And I read a couple people on Twitter and like Jeff Schwartz on Twitter was saying a lot of his throws were just a bunch of check downs, a lot of easy passes in a sense, nothing pushing the field more than 5-10 yards.
I'll agree with that. Definitely agree with that. But I love that hurdle of Anthony Barr, man. Mean, how it's like imagining Joe Flacco trying to jump over Ryan Shazier. You
never see a quarterback hurdle a player. It never.
and that big. It's one thing if it was like Russell Wilson. I could see Russell Wilson hurdling a player because he's short, he's fast. But you got a big. That's like imagine Peyton Manning hurdling a linebacker.
You never.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, and that's the thing. Josh Allen is, he's 6'5", 230, 240 pounds, and Anthony Barr's, it'd be different too if the cornerback was, if the defensive player was 5'10", 5'9",
right.
5'11". No, Anthony Barr is 6'2", 6'3", 250 pounds as well, and he
pro linebacker.
Yeah, and he just jumped over him and made him look absolutely silly. Part of the reason I believe the Vikings lost this game too. Kirk Cousins throws for 55 times, only manages 296 yards, got sacked 4 times, but the bigger story here is they could not get anything done on the ground. 14 yards rushing on the ground. I don't know how you guys feel about John. One of those things that definitely helps is obviously a good rushing attack, and we'll see in a later game, you can't win football games when your leading rusher is your quarterback. Do you agree?
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, and I was actually surprised. I mean, I thought in this game you would have seen Latavius Murray potentially step up, but I mean, he didn't do it. And when you don't have a running game, I mean, it's almost impossible to move the ball down the field because, I mean, you said, Kirk Cousins attempts 55 passes. And, I mean, when you're in that situation, I mean, the defense is saying, okay, they're going to keep throwing the ball because they can't rush it. I mean, if you can't run the ball, then it doesn't open up the pass.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, 100%. The only team in the NFL that wins with the quarterback rushing more than his running backs in the past has been Cam Newton, and that's a rare commodity. But I do say I'm chalking it up to I don't really believe in Latavius Murray, especially because that offensive line in Minnesota is god-awful, and he had a great O-line in Oakland. And the only reason why he was effective last year in the Vikings offense is because Jerick McKinnon there was the change of pace back. And when you line both of them up, the defense can't plan for it. But they have no other option at running back, so they have to go to a one-dimensional run game, and it's too easy to predict. And you also got to factor in they lost Shermer. So that play calling and that eye for that type of game is gone now.
Yeah, right. And their offensive coordinator now, Joe DeFilippo or something like that, John DeFilippo from the Eagles, which
and he wasn't even he was just the quarterback's coach. You know, he wasn't a play caller. Yeah.
Right, but I mean, you look at the results. So with Kirk Cousins, I mean, Kirk Cousins is statistically, other than the fumbles, which I think it's just because the center, there's not really chemistry between the center and the quarterback there just yet. But Kirk Cousins is statistically having another solid season, if not a better season than he's had in Washington. It's just one of those things where, right, you've got a rookie play caller. And now he's more than responsible than just the quarterbacks. He's responsible for the whole offensive team. And I don't think their issues are on offense, though. I think their issues are on defense. Their defenses looked, especially this week, and we'll talk about this week. We'll talk about that game last night. But man, their defense, after being one of the strongest, reminiscent of the '70s Purple People Eaters, has looked pretty shitty. This past week, especially, and they've just not looked like they've gotten it started. So, but like I said, we'll talk about that game a little bit later on. Next game on the docket. Again, we all did this is definitely going to be this team that wins it. The Indianapolis Colts against the Philadelphia Eagles. We all picked Indy. Instead, is the Philadelphia Eagles squeaking out a victory at 20-16. A lot of people making a big hoopla about the fact that Andrew Luck did not attempt the final 65-yard pass. They actually brought in Jacoby Brissett. Do you make that, Bronson, as a big story? Do you think it's just because of the whole shoulder issues? Do you think that plays into the fact, or like they don't think his arm can throw that far? Or do you think it was just, let's give this guy, who I think has a stronger arm than Andrew Luck, period, a chance to throw it downfield?
I think the media is going to try to make it what it is. Honestly, I think when it gets down to it, it's like, okay, like we just lost this guy for 2 years, almost 2 seasons almost, and he's just now back. Like, why put him in this situation? Like maybe they're convinced that his arm's okay, but there's got to be some doubt. And why make him go in there and like just put all of his strength into one throw to potentially jeopardize the rest of the season? I mean, give it time. Like how many instances over the course of a season does a quarterback get put into those situations? I mean, hell, the Denver Broncos did it with Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning got benched for Brock Osweiler, to do those Hail Mary throws. So, I mean, I understand it. Like, it's like, don't force him to do something that maybe his arm isn't quite ready yet. Like, God forbid if he throws the freaking ball and then all of a sudden he's like, oh, shit. What did I just do, And then they're back where they started. And then Andrew Luck gets chalked up to the greatest bust of all time.
Yeah. No, I fully agree. And again, one of those games where you see again, looking at the rushing stats here, Andrew Luck leading the team in rushing, where his only rush was 33 yards. I mean, that's... Yeah,
they need to commit to getting a fucking running back. It pisses me off. Every year I'm like, all right, the Colts are going to get a running back. They're going to get their guy. They're going to get this free agent, this free agent, this free agent. But no, fuck me, I guess. And also, and why like risk it all on a non-conference game. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. Like, it's the Eagles. Like, it's not going to hurt you in the long run for the playoffs too much. I mean, it's an L, but it's not going to affect the playoff bracketing.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
I agree. I agree completely. Next game.
But wait,
again,
hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
But what you didn't bring up about this game is how terrible Carson Wentz played. He was.
He looked rusty.
He was pretty damn terrible, and I'm only saying that because we all said that was going to be the case for him. So I'm only just bringing that up so we can further that point. Like, it was like the Eagles won, but they should have lost.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We all predicted that. I mean, John, you know, we were talking about it last week. We were saying how Carson was going to look rusty this week. I mean, you know, when you're out for 9 months and especially haven't played a game in you know, since week 14 of last year, you got to have some football rust. Am I right?
Oh, definitely football rust. And I mean, you got to think, I mean, with him, he had to come out thinking a lot to prove. I mean, he had to watch his team after getting hurt, march their way through the playoffs, win the Super Bowl. And, you know, with him, you know, still being a pretty young quarterback, it's all right, got to suit up and, you know, got to prove that, you know, I'm still the guy. And of course, there was a lot of rust. The Colts definitely should have won that game. But, I mean, he did look pretty rusty. Looking at the stats now, I mean, 25 of 37 for 255 yards. Stat-wise, not too terrible for a comeback after missing all that time. As the season goes on, it'll be interesting to see how he plays, especially when they start playing some tougher teams out there. But, I mean, I'll take, you know, I'm sure they'll take it, and for you know, looking at the stat sheet, not too bad. I just think it'll be interesting seeing how he looks moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, his top 2 receiving targets this past week was Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, who are both his tight ends. You can definitely tell. I know they signed Jordan Matthews to come back, but you can definitely tell this team is missing Alshon Jeffrey. Am I wrong here?
Oh, definitely.
Oh yeah, definitely. I miss Alshon too.
I'm sure you do.
All right.
I'm glad we got rid of him. But go ahead.
All right. Next game we got is again to continue the upset train. John and I both picked the Packers to beat the Redskins, and in surprising faction, Bronson was right. The Washington Redskins, my Washington Redskins, beat the Packers. What's even crazier about this game is Adrian Peterson pulled out his bag of tricks. The old man,
well, 19 that old man's played some games against some Packers.
Yeah, and I mean, 19 carries, 120 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's an old school Adrian Peterson stat line right there. Definitely looks solid. Passing game didn't really do too much, but when you've got a solid run game, again, going back to what we've talked about, when you've got a solid run game going, and you've got that lead back, and you've got even complementary pieces that can just put the hurting on that defense. You know, it definitely helps, and I think that helped the Washington Redskins this week.
Who gets to talk?
Whoever wants to talk, man. I mean, John.
I would love to talk because.
Oh yeah, I mean, I thought Bronson was going to continue. My bad.
We're professional on this podcast. Let me tell you, as I'm drinking my Gourds Gone Wild Tampa Bay Brewing Company beer.
I have my vodka going here, very professional. Anywho, pretty much like we were talking about the last game. Having a rush attack definitely opens up the field for you, and you know, we last week, Max, you and I were talking about, Green Bay is definitely going to come into this game and continue on, and the Redskins had no chance. But it was really all Washington this game. I mean, you know, Adrian Peterson was just, you know, he's lighting up the field, 120 yards, average 6.3 yards per carry, 2 scores. And, I mean, when you have a running back putting up those numbers, I mean, you know, you don't really need the quarterback to do anything too crazy. I mean, it's I was pretty shocked. I had Red Zone on during that game, and every time they cut back to the game, I mean, I was just like, man, here comes Washington again. And I'm waiting for Aaron Rodgers to have this comeback, but it just didn't happen. I mean, pretty shocked, but I mean,
I think he's used his comeback this year on the Chicago Bears. I think he gets like one comeback a year, and I think he's already used it. So
yeah.
All right, well, it's my turn.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move on past that thing you brought up next. Anyway, so I told you guys when I picked the Redskins for one reason why the Redskins were gonna win, and it was because of that interior D line. That is the greatest weapon on that entire team. Right
absolutely.
Now. That D line is causing problems on the low that no one's talking about. They invested those 2 first draft picks into it, and it is paying huge dividends. You guys got Mason Foster in there, who was like a bum on the freaking Buccaneers and the Bears, and now he's playing really, really well. The unsung hero on your defensive staff is that young guy out of Virginia Tech coaching your guys' secondary. I love him. He's like pulling everyone in, and he is making that defense play a hell of a lot better since the moment you guys got Josh Norman. That everyone's clicking, everyone's working together. Like seeing Swearinger out there commanding that defense, it almost gives me like flashbacks. And I'm gonna pour out for one for this man, but Sean Taylor. I haven't seen the secondary play with that tenacity since Sean Taylor and Landry were out there together, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, This is definitely an improved Redskins team. It'll go as far as
best team in the East right now. Best team in the East.
I mean, obviously, if Wentz gets back to where he is and they get Alshon back, I think it's neck and neck between us and Philly. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy. A lot of people question, oh, well, you just drafted Jonathan Allen last year. Why are you going with De'Aaron Payne? Well, the reason is because Jonathan Allen, sorry. See, I'm mixing my people up again. This beer's really good. Jonathan Allen, out of the University of Alabama Roll Tide, plays better when he is a plug-and-play defensive end. Even though he can play that one technique, even 3 technique on the inside, he is better when he can just disrupt those, that tackle guard combination when you have to double team him because he's just so dominant. So, and last year he wasn't healthy. Now you see this year he is healthy. That is a scary.
And what's even better is the guy you drafted this year played next to Jonathan Allen their entire college careers.
Yep, and one of the pass rushers and the
so
guy
they can literally look. They can literally look at each other and be like, "Yo, I'm going to do this." Like they already know what they're doing.
Exactly.
And that's something you can't. I mean, how often does like 2 linemen on the same team end up on the same pro team? Like that's not fair. That's not fair.
That's all. Yeah. The other big story out of this game, of course, is the. Once again, for the 3rd straight week, Clay Matthews gets a roughing the passer penalty. And I know the rule is the rule, and I get it. But at the same time, when you've got guys like in Miami, William Hayes, who tried to abide by the rules, tried to get his body out of the way, and instead tore his ACL, when's it going to be fair for the defensive players? When is it going to just be now? All of a sudden, if you touch the quarterback, you get a penalty. It's almost scary to think that you can't even make a proper tackle because they teach you in Bronson. You played football all through elementary school, middle school, high school,
Texas baby,
everything.
Yeah, I know.
And how do they teach you? How do they teach you how to tackle in Texas? They teach you to grab the guy and drive him through into the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, all right. I fucking hate Clay Matthews, okay? Just as a Bears fan, I have to. So, like, whenever I see them get that penalty, I'm like, yeah, fuck you guys. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, that's bullshit. Like, I can't agree with it. Clay, I think the first one on Mitch was definitely – that one was like – now, I sound like I'm being biased, but I'm not. It was definitely a rough one. It was a little late. Definitely warranted, and I think, and I may be crazy saying this, but he immediately spoke out about it when he shouldn't have publicly, and I just think he put a target on his back, man. He has the reverse Tom Brady effect. Like the refs are looking for you to fucking do it, just so they can throw a flag at you, because you're out there every day and they see it. I mean, you're bad mouthing the refs, so you got to go on the field. They're like, yeah, fuck you, Clay. Like you want to do this? You want to? All right, well, let's do this. And they're just looking for a reason. Like if he sacks the quarterback, he's probably going to get a flag every single time. Like it's getting to that point, because the last 2 weeks it's happened on 2 separate two different matchups, and it was just like, I mean, that sack this past week was just like, what? Like seriously? Like, I mean, it wasn't even bad. And then he even came out and said, I talked to Alex, like we were on the same page. Yeah, so
I again, we there, and I don't know if you guys saw on Twitter or not. I might have tweeted from my account. I might have tweeted from the fan, or from the podcast account. But the NFL released a tweet showing the actual, what constitutes as a good tackle, what constitutes as a bad tackle on a quarterback, and I tell you, I keep on watching the ones where they're like, oh, okay, that's like that's a bad, and I'm like, no, that's a good tackle. Like, I don't see anything wrong with doing what they're doing. Like, I get what they're trying to go for, but
I think they're going for like the momentum from the up to like down. Like if it looks like the velocity, it's like they're like, all right, yeah. It's like they're trying to take the big hit. Yeah.
Right. But again, the issue is that you have guys now, and this is the second time you saw Richard Sherman tweeted this out too. You have guys now getting injured on the defensive, side of the ball, because they're absolutely trying so hard.
I know. Yeah, I know it's happening constantly.
And you saw it with Miami's William Hayes. I mean, that's scary to think about. And
it's not fair. I mean, and the defensive players have come out here countless times and been like, well, like this is, how the hell am I supposed to like contort my body mid jump, like to avoid hitting a defenseless receiver. I mean, we've been seeing this forever, and the NFL doesn't, they're not going to jump to the defensive side of the ball on it, because usually, and especially in years past, it's been the defensive players hurting the offensive players. It's usually not the other way around. But now and maybe it's a good thing, but I know this sounds bad, and it's not, but maybe if more players get hurt on the defensive side of the ball, the NFL will reel back. And if people speak and outwardly about it, and maybe we can like tweak the rules and just kind of get some like it should never have changed. Like that rule never should have been implemented. It was dumb, just like the catch rule shit. So like bring it back. And that's what we did with the catch rule. Bring it back now. This is this year's dumb rule. Get rid of it. Like just stop. Like,
well, here's my problem is that, I mean, I've never played football my entire life, professionally. Obviously professionally, but I never in like an organized game. But it happens so fast. I mean, here you have Clay Matthews is running towards the quarterback. I mean, it happens so fast. He's supposed to have the split-second decision. Oh, I need to let up, or I need to rethink about how I'm going to tackle this quarterback to the ground. I mean, what do you do when you face a quarterback like Ben Roethlisberger, who's obviously way bigger than Alex Smith? I mean, it's like, okay, we have a bigger quarterback this week, but you got to take him down, and he's really hard to take down as a quarterback. You almost have to drive him to the ground. I mean, what are they supposed to do? It really confuses me, honestly.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And like we need it to be a weekly issue so it can change.
Right. And I think part of the issue too is that, just showing or just seeing, like, for example, I'll bring like soccer into this. Okay, soccer, you have like a team like Manchester United, biggest team in the English soccer team, right? They have multiple clubs that teach the same exact formations, the same exact way, the same exact time. So when they get promoted to the senior leagues, that they know exactly what they're doing in a sense. It's almost like the NFL, and I know that there's a couple professional leagues going out there, so that way they can have guys, come into the league. But it's almost like the NFL should be more proactively starting younger and younger leagues, so that way they can teach these kids how they want. So that way, for that future generation, when they come up and they want to play the game that that the NFL wants to play, in a sense. And again, I'm not saying that has to happen, but in a sense, you have to have them come and teach the game the way that they want the game played. I mean,
right.
Because you're talking to guys who have played the game for since they're you start at 5 years old, most cases, which I don't know how you guys feel about it with concussions and everything like that. Probably gonna have my kid play if they want to play flag football up until they're about 13, 14. Then when they get into high school, they can start playing regular tackle football. But it's neither here nor there. But you've got to have consistent coaching throughout, and you have guys right now that have been taught a certain way in different corners of different high schools and middle schools and elementary schools to tackle a certain way for 20, 30 years, in some cases, and you're now telling them, hey, what you've been doing is completely wrong. Stop it. And you just can't. It's muscle memory.
Yeah. Oh, right. You're doing it your entire life, and then you get to the pro level, and they're like, oh, by the way you've been tackling the last 15 years of your life, at least, that you're doing it wrong, so you're going to have to change that. It's like you said, muscle memory. It's almost impossible. It's like, oh, we want you to change this right now, even though you've been doing it the same way the last 15 years of your life.
Right. And I will say this, the NFL should get involved in teaching more, but they won't, because they have to have a fad every year in terms of rules. And this year, it's that. And it'll change next year. So that's why nothing will ever get done, which is unfortunate, but also a good thing, because, I don't want the game to change all that drastically to the point where you can't even fucking sack the goddamn quarterback. If that gets out of the game, I'm going to seriously consider. It's one of the most exciting things in football is seeing a quarterback get sacked.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just need it to change. And let's go to the next topic. Yeah.
Next game we got on the docket. Yeah. Not next topic, but next game. We're still not even halfway through these games, and we've already recorded for 30 minutes, so we're having a good start to this podcast. Remember, we're not trying to do 4 hours. We're trying to do 2 hours, maybe a little bit less. Last year. This week. It's all good. I'm drinking beer. I'm off today. It's an amazing day. This game right here is the Cincinnati Bengals, surprising 2-0 start. Gets stopped though in Carolina. Carolina has that Carolina pride. They win 31-21. Andy Dalton throws 4 interceptions. Cam Newton has 2 touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey runs for almost 200 yards. Again, one of those games where we talked about again, you have a good rushing attack. Carolina had 230 yards, and it wasn't all Cam, even though he got all the glory with the touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey finally breaks out, has a fantastic 184-yard rushing attack. Carolina, John, you predicted it this week. They won. How do you feel about your boys in Carolina?
Well, I think it was merely because of how the Bengals did us dirty the week before against the Ravens. So I think it was mostly hoping that Carolina gets on top of them. But it was interesting. McCaffrey really tore up the field. Cam Newton didn't really do anything too crazy on the stat sheet. Yeah, he had 2 touchdowns, but 15-24 for 150 yards. And yes, we do know how you feel about good old Cam.
I fucking hate him.
The Bengals, they didn't really have that rushing game going. Giovanni Bernard, rushed for 61 yards. They didn't have Joe Mixon, so I think that was a pretty big hurt towards them for the game. They kept it pretty close though, 31-21. I think big win for Carolina. I think that division is going to be pretty interesting this season again. So they got to keep going week after week. So big win for Carolina. Cincinnati, I'm sure they'll get back to it moving forward next week. But it's like we've been saying the last few games, we've been talking about it. When you have that rushing game going, it really opens up the field. The whole game.
Yeah, I mean, 4 interceptions. That's a little too many interceptions to come back from. Even though, I mean, that's ridiculous for a Carolina team that coincidentally this week also just signed Eric Reed to shore up that safety backline because due to injuries. Eric Reed, a solid starter for the San Francisco 49ers, obviously embroiled with the controversy for the kneeling and the protesting of the anthem. Also has a collusion case against the NFL. Bronson, little bit on this game, but do you think that'll hurt him in a sense? Do you think that the NFL will, kind of what you were saying about Clay Matthews having a target for speaking out against the NFL in terms of, the sack penalties? This is a guy who's actively suing the NFL for collusion still, and even though he's got a job, he's still suing the NFL. Do you think this hurts Eric Reed at all?
In terms of production or just like him
do you think that there's going to be a target on his back by the NFL, that any and everything that he basically does, he'll get called for?
It could happen. I could see it happening, but I also could see it not happening, and I'm probably going to lean more so to this side just for the simple fact of anything they do is going to further his case. So if they come out and like pull this shit that they're doing with Clay Matthews, it's just going to be like, look, see, like you see my point, like it's right here, it's on film. So I have a harder time believing it. And I mean, he's a safety, and I know this sounds bad, but safeties get no love in the NFL anymore, man. They are the most undervalued players in the NFL. And
I think it's because of the way that even now you have the new targeting rules that have been implemented in the last 3-4 years. They've almost neutralized having a safety. You almost have to just be, and in terms of not necessarily the playmakers, because you still got your Earl Thomases, you still got your Eric Reeds, you still got some solid safeties out there. But in terms of that hard, physical, I'm going to knock your teeth out if you come over the middle and try to catch the ball at the highest point, and you're going to have a concussion for 6 weeks type of safety. I mean, they've gotten rid of that entirely.
Right. Yeah, so, they definitely did, and I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah, it's a tricky subject, but yeah. I don't see much happening. He's in a small market team too, so it's all Cam Newton and his big ass teeth. So let's move on.
Moving on to a team that has big ass teeth and actually lost this week. The Tennessee Titans come away with a shocking win. Again, continuing that Shockapalooza type mentality this week. 9-6 over the Jaguars. Marcus Mariota comes off the bench, doesn't really do much after Blaine Gabbert suffers, I believe, a concussion. But here's a Tennessee team that did not look good, but the Jaguars looked way worse. Bronson, Blake Bortles, no touchdowns. Another typical Blake Bortles game. Do you have concerns for the Jaguars, or was this just like a mental lapse game?
It's a little bit of both. Blake Bortles kind of reminds me of like a modern day Jay Cutler meets Rex Grossman. He's like good for like spurts at a time and then really bad. But at the same time, I am a huge believer in Mike Vrabel. I've loved him from the moment he's been in the NFL playing middle linebacker. That dude is going to be a coach. He is going to be a coach. He can relate to the players. And, dude, he figured out how to make – that defense is sneaky good. Okay, their defense is one of the most underrated defenses in the NFL for the last 5 years. That secondary, I think it like for the last 3 years they were like the top secondary in the NFL with like allowing the least amount of touchdowns or some nonchalant stat that no one's talking about. Like what? Like your secondary doesn't allow any touchdowns. Why isn't anyone talking about you? Oh wait, ask freaking what's his face? Was it Deion Sanders shitting on their safeties. Who was it? I can't remember who it was, but I'm pretty sure it was Deion.
Yeah, it was Deion shooting on. I believe they're not their safeties, but I think their whole defensive back.
No, it was Kevin Byard because he went all pro.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And anyway, but like that defense is really good, and no one's talking about it. Love what they did in the draft. They even shored it up more, and I think Mike Vrabel's defense. Everyone's just like enamored with Jacksonville's, but no one is paying attention to how good that Tennessee defense is, and I think Mike Vrabel's got them believing their defense was better, and that's why they came out with the win, man. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, John, what are your thoughts about Jacksonville dropping the ball this week?
I'm really confused about the Jaguars, to be honest. I mean, last week, they came in with a big win against the Patriots, and, they come into this week, and I'm like, oh, okay, they'll take care of business against the Titans. But, I mean, I think, like what Bronson said, I think the Titans do have a really solid defense, and that could play a big factor.
Dean Pease, baby!
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Me, I'm a big fan of some Dean Pease, so...
John loves himself some good old-fashioned goober peas. So.
Yeah, you know it.
Oh, I thought you were going to say DPs.
Yeah, that's what
Peas!
DPs. But it'll be interesting to see how the Jaguars do moving along the season. If Leonard Fournette, when he comes back, if he can stay healthy, not having him last week, a really big blow. Yeldon only went 7 attempts for 44 yards. But it'll be interesting to see if Leonard Fournette can really change the game for the Jaguars. Obviously, he's a big playmaker. So I think that's a really big factor in the Jaguars' offense, at least. But, I mean, this game, it was 9-6. I mean, you rarely ever see a low-scoring game like that. But the fact that the Titans were able to keep Jaguars at 6 points, I think that's just as big of a picture about this game as the fact that, the Jaguars really struggled.
One more thing.
Yeah.
I will say this, that the Titans and the Jaguars are the exact same team, okay? You have, right now, I put Mariota, slightly better quarterback than Blake Bortles. You have absolutely no wide receivers on the Titans that are showing up. You have receivers that you're hoping show up and turn into eventual things. And you have the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have absolutely no one. Really, and Keelan Cole, he's like hot and cold. He's really good, but those receivers are very easy to game plan around. You got the Tennessee Titan ones. You got Rashard Matthews, who's pissed about being there right now, so he's not playing. Corey Davis is learning.
Rashard Matthews actually was released today.
Right,
so.
yeah. So there's that. And then you got Derrick Henry, underwhelming, like very underwhelming, especially after that explosive performance in the playoffs last year. And then you're asking Dion Lewis to be the main leading rusher. It's not going to work. That's like asking TJ Yeldon to be the main leading rusher. It's not going to work. These two teams were exactly identical. They had a good defense and a good kicking game, and one just came out on top because they had one more kick.
Yeah. And what's the thing about for the Titans too is that not a lot of people are giving them credit for, and not a lot of people are thinking they're doing it without for the first 2 weeks they were out without their left tackle.
Taylor Lewan,
right? Yeah, Taylor Lewan, right? And then they're still without Jack Conklin, their other high draft pick on the right tackle.
Oh, yeah, those are their two best offensive linemen.
Right, so they get those back. They get a healthy Mariota.
Don't forget Mariota was the backup this week.
Right, so
yeah.
It'll definitely be an interesting thing. I mean that division up in the AFC North will definitely be tight this year. So
you mean AFC South?
Whatever. I'm sorry. It's weird to me.
We're running a podcast here, man. Know your divisions.
Okay, but hold up now. Okay, the Colts are in fucking Indianapolis, which is like a fucking titty away from Canada, yet they're in the South. It bothers me.
I get it, man.
I'm right there with you. Yeah.
And the Colts
AFC
are so dominant.
East, and you got Miami.
Well, that's more understandable because it's on the east coast of Florida. It's still technically the east coast of Florida. It's on the east coast of the United States. It makes more sense to me.
I would swap the Colts and Miami and call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, that would make more sense, but then you would also run into the fact that the Colts would play the Patriots twice a year, and that's for some reason, that's the NFL's marquee matchup, even though it's never going to be the same again once Tom Brady retires, and whoever New England decides to be their heir apparent whenever they get their shit together on that, we'll never have the same rivalry against Andrew Luck that Peyton and Tom had. So,
right.
Whatever the case may be, you're right. I mean, that would make most sense, but fuck logic, I guess, in sports. So,
yeah.
All right, next game. Next game this week. The Baltimore Ravens coming away with a 27-14 victory that both John and I predicted. Bronson, you said this is the absolute worst team in the NFL. Guarantee it. Lock it down, stamp it, send it through the mail. This is the absolute worst teim. Yet they are 2-1, and they are.
God, they played some shit teams. Move on.
They're 2-1. They're. I mean, Joe Flacco. That's all I gotta say. It's just Joe Flacco.
Yeah, he had worse passer ratings than Jamarcus Russell did last year. But let's keep talking about the Ravens.
I mean, they won this week against the Denver Broncos team that I think Casey Keenum is still.
No, the Broncos also suck, guys. Okay, can I go on the record and say the Broncos also suck? Case Keenum is done. His moment of fame and fortune and hype was in Minnesota. To that pass to
I wouldn't say his fortune is done because he did sign a 3-year contract and he's still making bank. He's making more than all of us.
He's done. I mean, he's done. All right? Freaking dickhead running the show over there who thinks he just knows quarterbacks because he got fucking Peyton Manning for a year. Mr. Elway, I'm talking to you. Like, you just think all of a sudden because you got Peyton Manning for 2 good years that you know the quarterbacks. This team is failing so hard because they can't bring in the appropriate quarterback, and they're not drafting one well. I mean, hello, Paxton Lynch, where are you? Sorry. I'm going to stop. This is me rambling and babbling. The Ravens, again, beat another bad team, okay? One that they'll probably end up picking directly after in the draft. But...
John, your Ravens, you got to feel pumped for a win this week. I mean, do you see what Bronson's seeing, or do you think that there's more to it?
Well, it really falls on Joe Flacco this year. I mean, last week in Cincinnati, he throws a typical Joe Flacco interception in the triple coverage. This past week, another home game where it's pouring down rain. He does have a pretty solid game. The running game's been pretty iffy so far. Alex Collins hasn't really been showing the same kind of magic that he was last season. It's hard to tell. I mean, obviously, when you play the Bills week 1 and Nathan Peterman offense and you crush them, I mean, you should be a team like that. The Broncos, they may not be a good team. They still came out with a win. I'm more interested in seeing how the Ravens look this week in Pittsburgh. It just, like I said, it falls on Flacco. I mean, the ball's really in his court this season, with drafting Lamar Jackson. A lot of players say it lit a fire under Flacco's ass for the season. So, okay, he's started off pretty solid. I'm more interested in seeing how the Ravens play against better teams as the year goes on. But like I said, the ball's in his court. I mean, you better show up or, expect to be traded next season or let go.
Yeah. I see more of a let go. I think he has too big of a cap hit, but I think there's enough balance there to where they can finally, if they want to go with Lamar and they don't want to, if he doesn't want to take a backup role to where Joe could ask for his release and it's not too bad of a salary cap hit. I'd have to look more into that, but this is the Joe Flacco show. This is pretty much this is the year that the Baltimore Ravens said, hey, enough of your shit. Fucking Super Bowl was 5-6 years ago. What was it, 5 years ago?
Yeah, it'll be 6 years this season, yeah.
Yeah, so 6 years ago, 6 years ago, he got that huge contract, and everybody was like, "Is Flacco elite?" And everybody was like, "Yeah, he's elite. He won that. He won the Super Bowl. Remember,
Yeah.
but also Trent Dilfer won the Super Bowl. So
yeah, and I will say that, I mean, looking back at the years of Joe Flacco, I mean, he's not the kind of quarterback that can go out there and do it all on his own. I mean, when they won the Super Bowl, Anquan Bolden was a huge factor in that. I mean, Anquan Bolden was huge on that offense. A couple of years later, when the Ravens had Steve Smith, almost made the playoffs, and then the one year they didn't beat the Patriots, and then the last few seasons there really hasn't been a guy in Baltimore. I mean, we had Mike Wallace, but I mean, he's not the Mike Wallace that he was in Pittsburgh. We have John Brown, Crabtree, Willie Snead. I'm pretty excited about having Hayden Hurst when he comes back from injury. Mark Andrews has looked pretty good at tight end, but just going back, I mean, it's in Joe Flacco's course. We're going to continue to make stupid throws, and if you can't get it done at the end of the season and miss the playoffs again, I mean, it's not just Joe Flacco, but it's John Harbaugh. I mean, amazing coach, but I mean, they haven't made the playoffs the last few seasons. I mean, I'm sure he's on the hot seat too. I mean, he's going to have to make a decision as well.
Right.
Okay, can I say one thing?
Yeah, with your heavy breathing ass. Go ahead.
I have not been heavy breathing.
Oh, you were heavy breathing at the end there, motherfucker.
Okay, well, because I'm getting myself worked up. I'm getting my Texas football blood is boiling right now. All right, so who was supposed to be our guest today, John?
Supposed to be JJ. Shout out,
Jack J. Jones, right?
Yeah, JJ Jones.
All right. On April 8th, 2018, okay, he wrote a beautiful piece on Facebook. I wrote him back on Facebook telling him he did a phenomenal job breaking down the Baltimore Ravens and that I loved it and that I thought he should just keep on keeping because this was one hell of a piece. And I'm going to read it out. And, John, you actually commented on this piece.
I do remember this.
Okay, so here's his first sentence. I think the Ravens will make a play for Lamar Jackson, and here's why. I remind you, This is April 8th, 2018. All right. And I'm going to skip some of his points, but the last one is, lastly, our boy Joe Flacco. Here's why he ranks among the 33 quarterbacks who have thrown at least 800 passes in the last 5 years. He's dead last in yards per attempt, dead last in touchdown pass percentage, dead last in touchdowns to interception ratio, 32nd in the league ahead of only Blake Bortles, dead last in net yards per pass attempt, dead last in adjusted net yards per pass attempt. Last year, he averaged 5.7 yards per pass attempt. Let's put that in some perspective. Ryan Leaf's career yards per attempt was 5.6, and Jamarcus Russell's yards per attempt was 6.0. All right. I love you, JJ. Shout out to you. Sorry you couldn't make it today. Sorry, Wi-Fi is a bitch. It was beautiful, and I completely agree with you. Things have to change. Lamar Jackson will play this year. It's just a matter of when, and it's a matter of when Joe Flacco will get hurt or just royally fuck up, and it will be in a divisional game because he plays like garbage now against your divisional opponents unless it's the Pittsburgh Steelers, and even as of late, he plays like garbage against the Steelers. But they've also been playing like garbage, so you guys could maybe pull one of those off. But I don't want to talk about this anymore. I feel very strongly about it. I feel like the Ravens, over the last 5 seasons, have used their offensive coordinators as scapegoats, and I think it comes down to one person, and it's the head coach, and he's not taking any fucking blame, and I don't like that. And he's gotten away with it long enough because he won a Super Bowl, and you're a special teams coach. I understand that you know one thing, special teams, and you do a good job with that, but you got to take some accountability when you can't run the offense. You got a good OC in there now. When it stops working, don't blame him. Blame yourself. And that's all I'm going to say.
And just to add to that, I mean, I agree, and that's why I don't get fired up when a lot of people talk to me about Flacco anymore. I mean, you guys know me. I've been his biggest defender, being a Ravens fan.
Hell, man, I had to try to defend Jay Cutler for 5 years of my life. So,
yeah. But it gets to the point where, I mean, I follow obviously a lot of Ravens profiles on Twitter or Instagram, and especially ever since drafting Lamar Jackson. And he looked all right in preseason, and they're putting him on the field for some plays. And one day, and maybe this season, I can see it where they do put him in. I feel like if they play the cards right, he will be a solid quarterback. But I mean, a lot of the fans are already calling for Lamar Jackson. We're done with Joe Flacco, and I don't want to see a coach like John Harbaugh leave because of a whole Joe Flacco controversy. I know you're paying him a lot of money. I was never a fan of that contract to begin with. I think it was a dumb contract. Yeah, he won the Super Bowl.
Oh, God, that contract ruined the NFL. It started a trend,
it did,
man.
Because see how many other quarterbacks got paid because of it. It's insane. But, I mean, it's got to put up or shut up. If Flacco has a couple bad games, you got to put the pressure on Harbaugh. Okay, throw Lamar Jackson in. You drafted him in the first round. All the other first-round rookie quarterbacks are playing right now.
I'll say this, and they're already putting Lamar Jackson in because they're hoping that he shows them more than what they're seeing from Flacco.
Oh yeah, when he's on the field, I mean, especially at home, the fans are going insane. They're like, "Yeah, it's all right. Let's do it."
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we got to move on.
We got more games to go through, baby. Next game on the docket, of course. Not of course, but you want to talk about Texas Pride? The Houston Texans fall at home at Houston against the New York Giants. One of those games where we talked about where both of them really needed a win. Bronson, you come out with the correct pick on this. Both John and I, picked Houston on this. However, we did say that Eli was gonna get hit pretty hard, pretty quick. J.J. Watt got 3 sacks on the game. But Eli pulls it out. Again, rushing attack. This is what this week is about. It's about having consistent rushing. Saquon Barkley, 17 carries, 82 yards, a touchdown. Eli, near perfect, 25-29, 297, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. What do you make of this game?
It's the game the Giants needed, man. I already told you why they were going to beat the Houston Texans, and it was going to be on those short, immediate routes. And the corners that they went up against this week versus last week, they figured out how to beat it, man. That's all they need to do, sit down and look at some film. And Saquon's just going to get better. And I'm just happy for the Giants. I'm going to stop there. Both of these two teams, I feel so bad for them because their schedules have been so hard. The Giants, they're looking like a fucking 2-4 team here soon, man. They got to play the Saints. I can't even, the list for both teams. It's tough moving forward. And I feel really sorry for Deshaun and Eli because I don't want Eli to end his career like this, and I don't want Deshaun to come back through this. Granted, the sky is looking brighter for Deshaun at this current time, and Eli's running out of time. I think maybe he has 1 more year, maybe 2 if he's lucky. But outside of that, happy for the Giants. I'm done.
All right, John, Deshaun Watson has a strong game this week, 385 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. But again, 36 yards on the ground. He's their leading rusher. They paid big money to Lamar Miller to come in there to help be that lead back. And Lamar Miller, I have not heard much of this year. I haven't heard many touchdown calls with his name. I haven't heard many large games with him out there. He did do well through the air, five receptions, 41 yards, a touchdown. But again, what do you credit this Houston team? Is it all on him? Do you credit on a more passing attack? Do you credit on the offensive line? What's your thoughts?
Well, Lamar Miller, 10 rushes for 10 yards, definitely not going to get it done any day of the week. That pretty poor performance, and he has been a pretty big bust this season so far. I'll keep it short and sweet. Deshaun Watson, was nice to see him have a solid game, even though they come away with a loss. Threw for 385 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. He did a good job connecting to Will Fuller and DeAndre Hopkins. So that's good to see, despite not having a rushing attack. So that is good to see that Deshaun Watson can get it done when his running game is not doing literally anything at all. But also on the other side of the field, I mean, big win for the Giants. I'm happy for them too. Big win for them moving forward. Well, obviously you're not. I mean, but I mean, big win for them. Houston's 0-3, so I mean, they still have a lot of work ahead of them. I think really comes down to hopefully Deshaun Watson can stay healthy moving forward, and if he can keep playing like this, I mean, I think it's only a matter of time. But they need to get a running game going there.
Yeah, I desperately want them to fully throw all in on Le'Veon. Don't give up a first rounder. Get Le'Veon though. Do whatever you got to. Get Le'Veon. Take a top 10 pick and invest in a fucking tackle. Like they need an offensive lineman so bad.
Their offensive
so bad.
I don't know who has a worse offensive line between them, Seattle, or Buffalo, but either way, you could call one A, one B, one C, whatever the case may be. All three of them have god awful offensive lines. I agree completely. They could definitely make a run for Le'Veon. You could see Lamar Miller definitely being cut. But it just all depends on the cap space. What's working in their favor, obviously, is having Deshaun Watson, I should say, on that rookie contract. So you're not paying big money for the quarterback at this time, so they can go out and make that splash play. But you're not going to get it done when you don't have an offensive line, plain and simple. So next game is the Battle of the LA. The LA Rams at home, I guess you could say. They certainly played at home. They beat the Chargers. But again, we want to call the San Diego Chargers. Just move back to San Diego, please. It's too confusing. I mean, if you think this is going to fuck us up, wait until 2020 when the Oakland Raiders moved to Las Vegas, and we're still calling them Oakland because that's all we fucking know that they are is the Oakland Raiders.
I'll never say Vegas Raiders. It just doesn't sound right.
It just sounds awful. We're just going to call them that one team in Vegas. Like, it's just going to be that. So, yeah. But Rams come away 35-23. Jared Goff has a huge game. We'll talk about his Thursday night game because that was an even bigger game. But, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Phillip Rivers, solid game, 2 touchdowns, 226 yards. Todd Gurley over 100 yards rushing. This Rams team is looking pretty nice. I do got to say. We'll talk more about the Rams a little bit later. I just kind of want to skip over this game, only for the simple fact that, like I said, this is
we got another game to talk about with them.
Yeah, exactly, and we'll go more in detail about why they are.
We'll make that the ending topic. Yeah,
absolutely. So, next game, it is the Bears playing at Arizona. At the University of Phoenix Stadium. Bears come away 16-14. We all picked Chicago. Bronson, I'll give the floor to you because you called it. You said that this game was going to end by 3. Ends by 2. Either way, you predicted a pretty good game here. The biggest story out of this game, Josh Rosen makes his appearance. Doesn't look too good, but I don't blame that on him.
He had 2 minutes to play. Here's what I'll say. I told you, like I said, this is the type of game the Bears would lose. It almost seemed fitting because, we let them off the hook. But they are who we thought they were.
Rest in peace, Danny Green.
I fully expected this, and I almost have a feeling that this is also going to be the trend for the Bears next week, having to be ready to potentially face another quarterback midway into the game. Okay, that is not me breathing, for the record. Someone's vaping. Anyway, I was completely disappointed in the offense in the first half, but I will also say this several times. Mitch Trubisky just finally played more NFL games than he did college games. Let that sink in, okay? I look and see so many Chicago Bears fans like, what the fuck? Mitch sucks. He's garbage. Put in Chase Daniels. And I'm just like, where is your fucking patience, man? Like, look at Jared Goff. Look what his rookie season looked like under Jeff Fisher. It's literally the same situation. John Fox, Jeff Fisher, defensive-minded coaches, same person, run the ball, fail at everything else. Like, that's literally what we just went through. John Fox only made Mitch's development harder. The Bears are going to have to play close games against shitty teams our entire season because Mitch is learning. I can't say enough how happy I am about our Week 5 bye. Like, I usually hate early buys, but I can't wait for it because Mitch needs it. The boys, he's overthinking every read. He's getting too worked up because he has, like, Matt Nagy's offense is not easy by any means. It is highly complex. There are 15 different directions you can go with something. I mean, you're talking about an Andy Reid offense that Patrick Mahomes had the pleasure of sitting and learning for an entire year without having to do anything. And I want Mitch to just settle down. Like, he comes up to the line of scrimmage and you can see it in his eyes. When he looks around, he looks like Tony Romo, like he's about to get sacked. Like, they have the same facial expressions. And this is why I thought we were going to almost lose this game, because that Cardinals defense it's still fucking good. Okay. They lost Betcher. They lost Arians. But it's still they got Tyrann really Matthew, good. But yeah, they still got really damn good pieces over there. No one talks about how why is no one talking about Chandler Jones? He literally had 20 sacks almost last year. 20 fucking sacks, and no one's talking about it. That blows my mind. But yet Michael Strahan gets 20 sacks, and we're all like crowning him king fucking titties, and Jared Allen. But like, there's everyone's like Aaron Donald, Khalil Mack, this and this and this. Chandler fucking Jones, man. Pay attention to him, people. He's fucking like a one-man wrecking crew over there. 19 and a half sacks, I think he had last year. That's absurd.
He had 17 sacks last year.
Okay. Still
impressive. Absolutely.
How many sacks did Von Miller have?
No, I agree. Yeah. Now you got to realize though, and again, and you're a smart enough football mind to know this as well, that it's not always just about the stat.
I know, man. It's the team you fucking play for.
It's about the disruption. It's about the constant. You look at Aaron Donald, and again, we'll talk about it when we get to the game because I'm like getting more frothy at the mouth when I'm thinking about that game. You think about Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald, yeah, he may not put up 20, 25 sacks, whatever the case may be, but Aaron Donald gets off the line so quick, so fast, disrupts everything that you can't run in any direction going towards him because he just is there. He is there. He's waiting for you. I'm not saying Chandler Jones isn't that type of player, because he can be. The issue with Chandler Jones, and I think what the issue that a lot of people had and why he got traded from New England, is not necessarily the fact of his talent. He's got amazing talent. The fact of Chandler Jones is that he disappears from time to time. He has games where you're like, holy shit, Chandler Jones is like dominating, and then he has games where you're just like, Chandler who? Chandler Bing from Friends?
Man. You want to talk about people that disappeared after leaving the Patriots? Let's talk about Jamie Collins.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's
a different story for a different,
But back to the Bears. Like, I predicted this happening because two things. Mitch that's why we went out and got Mac. All right? It's not because we wanted to compete in the division. We want to compete.
Another 2 sacks this week, by the way.
Yeah, and didn't win NFC Player of the Week, whatever. Fucking haters. But anyway, that pissed me off. We went to like some chud muffin on the Panthers, whatever. Consolation prize for him. But We went out and got Mac for one reason, because Ryan Pace knew, Matt Nagy knew, Vic knew. They all see it in practice. They watch it. They're like, he's not fully ready to go. Like, he doesn't have it all in. It's not all in there. I mean, going from off season to first game of the season is not enough time. It's not, especially with the type of offense that we're expected to run. And so what do? You make your defense, you give it the one piece it's needed the entire time, a true wreck of a pass rush. And that's why they went out and got him. And that completed the team. The team is looking like the team that I saw go to the Super Bowl. It's playing top 5 defense with mediocre quarterback play and a good return game. We have all of those things currently.
And besides one team in the NFC, that team that we're going to talk about soon, besides that one team in the NFC is wide open.
Right.
I mean, there's contenders. I mean, with the AFC, and we'll talk later about that too. But the AFC is less wide open. You kind of know the teams.
It's always.
Yeah, the NFC is
annoying.
like the NFC. Any team can make the conference championship to the Super Bowl. So it could be the year that the Bears definitely they'll go as far, just like how they did in 2006 with Rex Grossman as their quarterback. They'll go as far as their quarterback will take them.
Yeah, well, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Mitch is Rex Grossman by any means, but I'm expecting him to play like Rex Grossman right now. Like, I am fully expecting that. Like, give the man a year in the offense. Let him fucking learn. Like, he did not take a step forward being in the NFL last year. He took a step back, okay? He was not allowed to just go out and fail every week. Like, that didn't get to happen. Goff had that luxury. Like, Mitch went in and was like, all right, you're going to throw 6 passes against the Baltimore Ravens, and you're going to hand off the ball to Jordan Howard 45 times, but we're going to win. And that happened. Yeah. I mean, and that's not how is your quarterback supposed to learn when he only throws 6 fucking passes? Right. Like, in one game this season, he's already thrown more passes than he did all of last year. Yeah. It's just that's like, when you think about it, it's like, oh shit, he's only played 12 college games, and now he's played 14 NFL games, and he's thrown just now more passes than he did all of last season. But yeah, we have enough to judge Mitch Trubisky. No, you don't.
No, and it was always going to be a learning curve when it came to Mitch Trubisky. Obviously the top quarterback in that draft class, I think, just based on his athleticism. But again, he was a guy who, he was going to be accurate in the short game, medium and deep, and like what you said, he gets happy feet. And when you get happy feet, you don't get accurate at all.
Yeah,
you start missing
settle,
the easy passes. So
yeah, he's got to settle down.
And I think he'll get that way. We'll continue on to the next game though, and we'll talk about the Bears a little bit later. But next game, Dallas and Seattle. John, you picked the Cowboys, and
silly
the Cowboys.
Yeah,
the Cowboys did not have a good game this week. Dak Prescott, again, looking mediocre. The Seattle passing offense, led by Russell Wilson, 2 touchdowns, only 200 yards, 192 yards, I should say, but, I'll do law of averages, 200 yards. Not really that dominant, but, what do you make of this game? Earl Thomas, I think the biggest story out of this game, picks the ball off twice, has 7 tackles against a team that was thinking about trading for him at the draft this year. And I know, Bronson, we'll get to your thoughts as well, because you were at the draft. You probably heard some stuff. But John, biggest story out of this game, obviously, like I said, Earl Thomas not practicing that much this week, even though he doesn't have an injury. He just said, hey, fuck you guys, I'm not practicing. Same thing this week. Do you think that'll be a headache going forward, or do you think he's proved it just with this one game that he doesn't need to practice?
Well, if he could play this way week in and week out with doing that, then I think he's good to go. And I'm sure the Cowboys and Cowboys fans all over are saying, why didn't we get Earl Thomas? I mean, what a monster game for him. The Cowboys are not looking good at all. I don't know if they're what they need moving forward. I mean, Zeke had a pretty solid game. I don't know if they're just missing Des Bryant. I have no idea what's going on in Dallas. I mean, a big win for Seattle. They finally get that win and don't drop to 0-3. They are 1-2, and they are going to need to keep going forward. I mean, especially with the way that the Rams are playing this year. I mean, they have their hands full in that division. But I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, the Cowboys, it just seems like there's a lot of question marks moving forward. I mean, in the passing game they went out and they got Allen Hurns. Beasley is, he's always up and down. But I mean, I'm not sure.
They have no receiving at all.
They don't. I mean, I don't know if, like I said, if they're just missing Des Bryant a whole lot or what.
Of course they're missing Des Bryant. I mean, freaking Jerry Jones was just at like a Beyonce concert with him. Like, what the hell? Like, what? Like, all right, like, let's hang out. Like, let's talk about your future.
Jerry,
let's go see Beyonce.
But we all know Jerry loves his women, man. We all saw the photos. He loves himself some drinking and some women.
Yeah. Well,
true.
The Dallas Cowboys are playing like garbage, and it looks like the Giants and Cowboys are like pretty much like, let's compete to see who looks worse this week. But no, right now, like, the Cowboys are playing phenomenal defense. Like, don't sell that short at all. They are Rod Marinelli, love the dude. He's my man. Go back to my Bears days. Like, he's a damn good coach. It was smart of him to give some play calling duties to the dude from Seattle. They got that guy in there running that secondary that ran the Legion of Boom. That was a great hire for them. Honestly, it's Scott Linehan and believing in his system more so than the receivers and willing to move forward. Like, it's like, oh, like, your solution is trading for Tavon Austin? Like, what? Like, that makes sense. Oh, wait.
He's not even a receiving threat. He's at this point, he's just an overhyped running back.
Right. Like, oh, and then Allen Hurns, the Jags just randomly cut him. We should sign him, right? Yeah. Like, that's literally been their logic so far. Like Allen Hurns played terrible last year on the Jags. Like, he was not remotely, did not get involved at all. It was Marquise Lee and Keelan Cole. Like they cut him for a reason. So you think that's a solution to your team? No, it's desperation. And they chose to not address the wide receiver position in the first round of the draft this year when they very well should have, because they thought they could get away with it, but it did not work out that way because immediately in the second round, I was there. Everyone started going wide receiver. My Bears had to trade up into the second round after taking an offensive lineman in the second round to get Anthony Miller with the Patriots. So the wide receiver position got attacked super aggressive early on in the second round of the draft. And the Cowboys had to live with that because they didn't address it in the first because they thought they could get away with it in the second. And now it's biting them in the ass. Anyway.
Yeah, and I think you got some problems in Dallas. Obviously, their struggles are more on the offensive line as well. They even though Zeke ran for 100 yards, I think it's just the talent of Zeke himself. But that's a hurt offensive line. That's just a hurt offense. Period.
No, they look like how the Bears did last year, man. It's all running back and defense, no quarterback play. I mean, it's it.
All right, Sunday Night Football. Next game, Lions to again begin with the upset of Palooza. Maybe the last upset of Palooza. We'll talk about Monday night as well, but the Sunday night game, Lions 26-10 victory over the Patriots. Now, Bronson, before people in New England, because I don't know if you've ever heard New England sports media or Boston sports media, it's legitimately ear-cringing inducing. Like, you want to talk about people that want to kill themselves over the tiniest things. I mean, they are pretty bad, but there's going to be those people that say, oh, the Patriots are done. Oh, they're screwed this year. I don't believe so. That's just my personal belief. I think Belichick will coach this team right. However, they do have problems. Do they not?
Okay, well, first of all, first thing I'm going to start with, I told you if there was a team in the NFL that was going to beat the Patriots, it's going to be the guy watching Tom Brady in practice every day, and that's Matt Patricia. Secondly, the New England Patriots are on a complete downward spiral. This year is not going to end well. Okay, before the season even began, you saw all the bullshit with Robert Kraft, Tom Brady, and Bill Belichick, that there was all this stuff going on. All these things started getting released. How Bill Belichick was going to leave, how Bill Belichick was going to get fired, how Bill Belichick wanted to keep Garoppolo, but Robert Kraft made him commit to Tom Brady more. And so Bill Belichick was like, fuck it, I'm going to trade Garoppolo. I'm going to trade this player. I'm going to trade this player. I'm going to do this in the draft. I'm going to trade this second-round pick. There's been all these articles, all these stories that have come out, and all these analysts who've got all this information back to like Tom Brady with the fucking trainer guy. There's all this shit going on behind closed doors that we don't know. This huge ESPN article was released about it, right? Robert Kraft came out and like denied everything, made Belichick come out and deny everything. There is shit going on there. Okay, we don't know what. We don't. Like, it's been getting prodded at. People are trying to get under that like Bill Belichick like skin, and it's not happening. It's not gonna happen. But and then don't even get me started on the Josh McDaniels going to fucking Indianapolis, only being brought back to New England because why? Why were you brought back to New England? You fucked over the entire staff you hired there. They had to stay there. So you got Indianapolis coordinators now that were promised jobs from Josh McDaniels. Now they got to work with some random coach, Frank Reich, that they had no working relationship in. Like, this is not good. They brought Josh back because they're like, dude, you're taking the job next. We don't want to lose you. You're too valuable to the operation. Like, Bill's like, yo, I'm done. Like, I got maybe one more in me, and then I'm out. Like, I just got rid of my franchise quarterback. Like, and Jacoby Brissett. Like, I have no quarterbacks. Like, I gave them all away. I'm out. I'm going to go take a Tom Coughlin job, and he's probably going to fucking do it with Cleveland to, like, make it full circle again, man. And that's just my opinion. But, like, this is not going to end well for them. They're going to win. They're going to lose, like, some very head-scratching games. And what we saw on the sidelines against Detroit is just going to keep happening. And they're going to end at, like, 9-7, man.
Well, they what's surprising about them is, and I know it's super early in the season, we can't predict whatever the case may be, but I was listening to a different podcast, and they said that the Patriots, if the season were to end today, obviously the season continues, but if the season were to end today, for whatever reason, the Patriots had the 4th pick in the draft, where, again, I believe that even though it's a weaker quarterback class this year, they would go for a quarterback, because Tom Brady does not look like Tom Brady, and that's not necessarily his fault, but, you know, you got rid of Nate Solder, and this team...
You don't have Julian yet.
Yeah, you don't have Julian yet. This team doesn't look complete. And you can definitely tell, John, on their defense, it's looking very old. They look very unathletic. They got rid of Malcolm Butler, who I think that was a big mistake because I'm a big fan of Malcolm
I didn't even fucking mention Bill letting him go either.
Yeah. So
or
John,
Nate.
I mean, John, is it over in New England, or do you think that Belichick will coach this team back up? What do you think?
I think with
John's
with
like, let me like tell you what I want to happen.
Yeah, what I want to happen is, of course, to see the downfall of this whole, dynasty, empire, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, that'd be nice, but I mean, it's still early. We did see a lot of it, like what Bronson touched on. In this past offseason, with the whole Tom Brady, Robert Kraft, Belichick. I mean, that was huge in the offseason. I mean, we thought, oh wow, I mean, this might even, self-explode before the season even gets started. It kind of worked itself out. I mean, I'm sure there still is a lot of BS going on behind closed doors, but the only, I I don't know. I mean, the defense is looking really, really, really head scratchy. The offense. I mean, I know they traded for Josh Gordon. He'll probably play this week, and they get Julian Edelman back next week. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, the way that they lost against Detroit, they're 1-2. I don't know, man. I mean, Tom Brady only threw for 133 yards this past week, and it doesn't even seem like he wants to be there right now, honestly.
Yeah, I mean,
Gronk too.
Yeah, and he's trying to retire.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who was going to be traded to the Detroit Lions. Like, the paperwork was basically there. Detroit was going to give up, I think, a second or a third. They were going to give up a pretty decent draft pick. Gronk was going to go to the Lions, help out Patricia, help out Bob Quinn as like a parting gift for Belichick for that operation over there. And Gronk was like, I'm going to retire if you do that. And Gronk deserves that because Gronk is the best tight end when he's healthy in the NFL. But at the same time, I mean, it's bad. I don't believe necessarily. I still believe in Belichick as a coach, but you're starting to see more and more players starting to believe less in the system and the culture that's there.
And that stems from the coaching. If Bill Belichick is walking into the building like fuck it every day, then they're gonna have a fuck it attitude.
Yep.
First to the top.
All right. Go ahead.
One quick question.
Yeah.
What if, I don't want any responses, just, stew it over, but what if Cleveland fired Hugh this offseason and they hired Bill if he left?
Oh, God.
Just roll it over in your head. Think about it.
Tell me that. The Ravens got to play Bill Belichick twice a year.
Bill with Baker, man. Bill Baker.
Bill Baker. Bill Baker, touchdown Baker, baby.
That's scary, though. I don't want to think about that.
All right. We're moving.
Final game of Week 3, Monday Night Football. Pittsburgh 30-27 at Tampa Bay. They certainly fired the cannons in the fourth quarter, but 3 interceptions by Ryan Fitzpatrick certainly hurt the Buccaneers. Again, another game where you saw no rushing at all, and could potentially lead to the downfall of the Buccaneers. But again, just some stupid picks by Ryan Fitzpatrick. As we know, this week upcoming, he will be the starter, even though Jameis is done with his suspension. John, do you think the suspension, or do you think the fact that Ryan Fitzpatrick is starting is because of how well he's played over the 3 weeks? Or do you think it's because Jameis is still the guy, however, like what we talked about with Carson Wentz, he may not be in football shape at this time?
I think it's a little bit of both. He may not be in football shape just yet, but I think a lot of it has to do with Fitzpatrick having the hot hand. And yeah, he didn't start off too hot in the first half this past Monday night. Definitely came back pretty strong. I mean,
almost had another bout of Fitz magic this past week. So yeah,
I mean, we were all texting in the beginning of that game saying, "Oh man, I think the Fitz magic's out." But going into halftime, it was, I believe, 30-10. And they start marching back, and whole Pittsburgh scoreless in the second half. And, I mean, they almost came away to at least tie the game up towards the end. It still threw for over 400 yards. Did have those pretty terrible interceptions in the first half. But, I mean, he definitely came back and made it interesting. I mean, I'm sure he has to realize that, okay, Jameson, he's coming back, and this is his team. But if I keep playing like the way I am, then this is my team right now, So if he keeps playing at this elite level at quarterback and keeps the magic going, I mean, even if Winston's ready to come back when he's in football shape, I think you got to keep the ball in the hot hand.
Absolutely. And Bronson, even if, let's say Fitzpatrick throws, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, do you think, even if Jameis Winston takes over this team, that Jameis Winston will be a Buccaneer by April of next year?
No. I don't see it. I don't see it.
Yeah.
He's kind of he's underperformed too many times. He's won some big games, but he's lost a lot of ones that he should have won.
Yeah. And I think, you're seeing the top two quarterbacks in that draft class, both him and Mariota, struggle. I listened to another podcast, the Stick to Football podcast. They were talking about how both theoretically, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but theoretically, in April, you could see both the Buccaneers and the Titans move on from their quarterbacks. I don't see it necessarily from Tennessee. I think Mariota's been hurt, and you can't really.
And they're not really helping him too much at receiver either. I mean,
yeah, exactly. And I think, I think if anything, Mariota's had way cleaner off the field stuff. Hasn't ever been suspended for anything stupid, let alone has anything, I think, from anywhere that could say anything bad about
Mariota is a fantastic dude. Fantastic guy.
Yeah. So
yeah. No, he's gonna be on that team for a while. I believe in Matt LaFleur, his offensive coordinator. He hasn't had a chance really to play a fucking full game and let it rip. He's had to go up against really good defenses the last 3 weeks.
Yep. So, and Pittsburgh comes away with the victory, much needed victory in Pittsburgh. We were talking about how they needed this victory just for some for some help and morale, and they get it. So, all right, final game we're going to talk about was last night's Thursday night epic 38-31 Los Angeles Rams start the year 4-0. Minnesota, again, what we talked about before. Their defense does not look good at all. Doesn't look like the same defense of last year. Meanwhile, the Los Angeles Rams, even though they give up 422 yards through the air, I mean, just dominates the rushing attack. Once again, Kirk Cousins leading the team in rushing yards, which you can't have at all. But Jared Goff, there's a guy that you brought it up, Bronson. Here's a guy who everybody wrote off in his first year because Jeff Fisher was his coach, and Jeff Fisher does not know how to do anything with quarterbacks. If your name's not Steve McNair, he has never done anything with a quarterback ever in his entire life. And here's a guy, Jared Goff. Many people wrote off his first year. He gets Sean McVay, probably one of the smartest NFL offensive minds ever.
My God, he's probably like my number one right now in the NFL.
Yeah, and I mean he's just so good unreal at what he does. And Jared Goff throws incredibly 5 touchdowns, only 7 incompletions, and has a perfect passer rating while throwing for 465 yards in the NFL. Are you ready to anoint Jared Goff as a top 5 quarterback, or do you think he's still got some work to do, or how do you feel about Mr. Goff?
I'll let John start.
John, go ahead.
All right. Well, I mean, to take away from this game, I mean, Jared Goff, I mean, this whole game as a whole, I will say, was incredible to watch. I mean, over 1,000 total yards between both teams. I mean, you don't really ever see that ever. Very rare that happens. Jared Goff, I could definitely see him, if he continues playing the way he does, definitely in a top 5 quarterback. The week before he threw for 354 yards, and then the week before that, I think he even, I'm trying to pull it up, 354 yards in that game too. I mean, if he keeps throwing like he does, I mean, how could you not put him up there as a top 5 quarterback? I mean, like what we were talking about a couple nights ago, I think the Rams are one of the most complete teams in the NFL. They seem like they are really hard to stop. I mean, and looking at the Vikings, I thought with them getting Dalvin Cook back might make a pretty decent difference in this game. But 10 rushes for 20 yards, and like what you said, Max. I mean, Cousins was the leading rusher. You can't have that. Yeah, he threw for 422 yards and a few touchdowns, but you just can't win the game. You don't have. Yeah, you gotta have a running game. There's just no getting around it.
So, Bronson, I know the Vikings are in your team. as you're walking into a room that's very loud.
Sorry.
It's all
It's
good.
Emma's fault.
It's all good. No, it's all good. The Vikings are in your division. You're very familiar with them. Some troubling news besides that's bigger than football is Everson Griffin, obviously, having some sort of mental breakdown. I don't know what it is. I mean, I know rivalries are rivalries, but it's one of those things.
I'm not a prick when I am extremely concerned about the health of Everson, and I think that could be playing in to everything. I think it could be a distraction. I mean, Everson's been there forever. I mean, he's probably the number one leader on that defense. I mean, Anthony probably looks up to him. And it's got to be really hard because, I run a kitchen, all right? I have 7 chefs that work under me, and I love every single one of them, all right? And I would do anything for them. And so when I look at that and I apply how I feel to my employees or my coworkers and the people I get down and dirty with and sweat my nuts off with every day, and I look at that situation. That's Everson. That's your number one guy. That's the guy who knows every single fucking play that comes through the headset. No questions asked. Every player on that defense, that very young defense, is learning from him. All right. And it's what's wrong with Big Dog? The moment you go in and you're doubting your main guy, you're doubting yourself. And that's causing distraction. And that's huge. That's a big problem. Yeah. And I want to see it get better. Don't get me wrong. I also want to see Everson get better. In terms of Goff being a top 5 quarterback, absolutely, man. The NFL is trying to figure out its top 5 quarterbacks currently. Right now, there are no. I mean, it's Drew Brees. You got Tom Brady. You know that. But they're on a time clock. So the NFL is looking to replace their new poster boys. And Goff's going to be one of them. Wentz is going to be one of them. It's going to be one of the one. It's probably going to be 2 quarterbacks from last year's draft class. So we're getting a resurgence. The Rams are the most complete team in the NFL. Sean McVay is the best offensive mind in the NFL right now. There is no one better than him.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think this is a complete Rams team that both Bronson and I picked to win. John, you picked the Vikings to come back and have a comeback game. I mean, they certainly did
Silly
on
goose.
offense, but defense. I mean, defense. They're struggling. I have no words for it. Even Mike Zimmer, who is usually reserved, said this is probably the poorest pass defense I've ever coached in my entire life, and that's a big statement. So.
I will say one more thing before we cut to another thing. That secondary depth for them and the injuries there will catch up to them. They will lose a few games due to that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
And all right, so we're at the end of the podcast here. We're going to do the picks, which we decided off recording what we're going to do for this picks, because we were just picking just to have some fun. But no, now we got some stakes, and not just stakes as in the STAKES version, but yeah, we got some possible Outback Steakhouse steaks on the line here. This week we're going to be picking, we've decided that whoever has the best overall record with best winning percentage. I haven't come up with a tiebreaker. If there's a tiebreaker, then I don't know.
Over the course of the season.
Yeah,
we'll figure this week.
Yeah, we'll
you
figure
said this
something
week.
out. Oh well, over the course of the season, my bad. Over the course of the season, we'll have picks throughout the entire weeks, and whoever has the best record at the end of the season will earn a $50 gift card to whatever restaurant that there is out there, like an Outback, an Applebee's. It'll be the winner's choosing. Snow, I do love me some steaks, so be prepared to get some unique requests here. And so, in addition to that, on the final podcast of the NFL week, or after we do our wrap up of the season, we're gonna have the winner do a 2-minute I originally said 1 minute, but with the way we talk, it could be a 2-minute gloat fest where we just shit on the other persons in this podcast, including our guests. We're gonna start having our guests pick as well. They're just gonna pick for fun, just to see how well they do against us, the supposed experts who are not experts. We actually suck at our jobs, but we're also hilarious. So keep bringing in the people. Keep bringing in the people. Man, we had 80 fucking people view our podcast. I know like 50 of them were probably the three of us, but still, we had 80 views on our podcast. So
I only viewed it like 4 times.
Yeah, I only viewed it like 5, maybe. So, John viewed it like 50 times.
I couldn't help myself.
All right, first game of the week. Got the Bengals going up against the Atlanta Falcons at Atlanta at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which does not serve Chick-fil-A on a Sunday, which is so stupid. I'm gonna go Atlanta to win this. I think again, it's one of those questions that I wanted to talk about week 1. I think Marvin Lewis is an overhyped coach. I think he's more lucky than he is a good coach. But I think the Falcons will start finding their stride, especially after a tough loss last week and overtime at home against New Orleans. I think they'll come back. Bronson?
Dude, I think I have to take the Bengals. Like, I said this last week when I said that this is going to begin the downfall of the Matt Ryan era. I'm not saying it's necessarily all on Matt Ryan, because you saw how he played last week. He's still playing great. But they brought Calvin Ridley in for a reason, to replace Julio Jones. I really genuinely believe, yes, Marvin Lewis is lucky. I don't disagree with you on that. But I don't see that Falcons, birds, dirty birds. I don't see that Falcons defense holding up against those offensive weapons. Tyler Boyd is playing really well. Eifert's contributing. Mixon is playing well. You lost an all-pro freaking linebacker and safety, and you lost they lost too many all-pros on that team this year. I just have to go with the Bengals, man. It's going to be a shootout. It's going to be another great quarterbacking game. But I just really, really believe that the Bengals are just going to squeak by on this one by like 6.
Yeah. John, who you got and why?
I'm going with the Falcons, mainly because of how Calvin Ridley played last week. I think the Bengals start to pay more attention to Ridley after exploding for, what I believe, 3 touchdowns last week, which I think could potentially open up the field to finally see Julio Jones do some damage out there on the field. So I got the Falcons in this one.
Absolutely. All right. Next game, 1:00 game. Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to Soldier Field, brave the conditions out there of 70 degrees and rainy. Soldier Field, Chicago Bears. I've got the Chicago Bears. I think Fitzmagic has run out. I think Fitzmagic has run out in Tampa Bay, and I'm not necessarily blaming it on him. Their defense does not look good at all. And I know last week you could blame it on Fitzpatrick throwing a lot of interceptions, ending a lot of drives early, and them getting tired, but you could point to the first 2 weeks where they were just absolutely dominating the first half, and then the second half they look like shit. They don't look good. I know they got Brent Grimes back, but again, Brent Grimes did not do anything that impressed me this week. And of course, Chris Conte got the shit stiff arm down of him. So look for that this week. I think everybody's going to try to stiff arm the shit out of him again. Bronson?
John?
Back on. All right. Well, I'm also going to go Bears this game. I just think the Bears defense is really going to terrorize Fitzmagic. I think it could be a close game, but I just think this defense is going to stay all over Fitzpatrick, and it's going to be a long day. So give me the Bears.
All right. Okay.
Keep it to 10 minutes or less.
All right. I will keep it short and sweet and try to keep it from being biased. Jameis Winston will play this game. He will start at some point in the game. The the Bears keep getting asked whether or not who they're game planning for. They keep saying, well, it's early in the week. It's, we're not going to say anything. But they need to fully expect what happened last week. Yes, Rosen came in the last 3 minutes. Expect that to happen a hell of a lot sooner. I think Fitzpatrick is going to struggle. He has not gone up against the front seven like anything that we have to offer this entire season. And if he's going to throw 3 picks in 15 minutes against the Steelers, he's going to throw some picks against the Bears front seven. Granted, my corners need to fucking learn how to catch a ball. Prince, You've been doing great.
Kyle Fuller paying all that money and he can't catch a damn cold at this point.
Yeah, he did that last year too, and we still paid him. But he does know how to defend the pass well. He doesn't catch the ball well, but whatever. I'll take defending the pass. Yeah, I think Bears win. It's going to be. I could see a high-scoring game. I could see this being the game where like Mitch hits a deep throw finally. Like the Bears. We have thrown so many deep balls the last 3 weeks, and it's because we're trying to connect on one to try to get Mitch's confidence up, and I think he does this week. And I think it's going to be like a 30-35 type game, man. Bears win.
Yeah, absolutely. It could definitely be a shootout. It all depends on how well Mitch does. Like I said, I expect if they have as long as everybody's healthy going into the game, I expect the Bears to come away with that win. I expect Mitch to definitely rebound after having an okay game against last week against the Cardinals, but this week
look for Kevin White to make the first completion on the deep pass. That's what it's going to go to.
Yeah, they could pull what the Buccaneers did against the Eagles that first game where it's just a 75-yard deep throw to Deshaun Jackson, but just replace Deshaun with Kevin White. So, John, Lions, after coming off a big win against the New England Patriots, have to go back into, so to speak, a lion's den of itself, AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas, against the Cowboys. Who you got?
Well, until the Cowboys can show me anything different on offense, I got to go with the Lions. I just think there's just too many problems with the Cowboys on offense. I mean, their defense isn't too bad, but I got to go with the Lions on this one. I'm not going to make the same mistake picking the Cowboys again.
I too am also going to go Lions. I think they got some momentum on their side. I think it helps Patricia. I know that there are reports that the veterans were unhappy with him, and I get it. This is a guy who's coming from a Belichick, system who wants it his way. Patricia probably would have been a better choice in Cleveland, where he could have molded those guys into the image he wanted, but he took over a veteran team. But I think that with coming away with that big win against his old Bull Club, I think the Lions are going to win. Bronson?
The Lions easy.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see anything that Dallas does that excites me. Even Zeke doesn't excite me as much. And I don't know what to say about this Cowboys team other than they need to get their shit together. Otherwise, bye-bye Jason Garrett. He will be next line of coaches that get fired. So, all right, Bronson, Eagles, Titans. Who you got?
Who'd you ask? Sorry.
I'm sorry. Eagles and the Titans.
Eagles. I think the Titans have won a few big games. I think the Eagles are probably going to have a much better performance out of Wentz this week, but I could still see him being rusty against that really underrated Titans defense. It's going to be a close, low-scoring game, man. It's going to be like a 14-17 type affair.
Yeah, absolutely. John, who do you got and why?
I got Eagles in this one. I think, with the way Carson Wentz played last week, I mean, he was a little rusty. Wasn't terrible, though. I think he's going to come out and show more that he's ready to come back and lead this team to another deep run in the playoffs. So give me the Eagles.
I'm going to go with the upset here. Tennessee's at home. From all indications, Blaine Gabbert's out this week. Marcus Mariota starts. There's a possibility that Jack Conklin is going to play, so I'm going to go Titans. All right, Bronson, you're up again. Bills versus Packers. Bills going to Green Bay to the frozen tundra of 53 degrees of Lambeau Field. Who you got?
Man, as much as I would love to see Buffalo beat another one of my division rivals, I can't see it again. Like, I just can't. Like, the Vikings fucked up and doubted the Bills. I could see the Bills front seven causing some trouble for Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers is kind of looking like, the injury could be catching up to him. But I got to go Packers, man.
All right. I, too, am also going to go Packers. I think Aaron Rodgers, again, still solid this year. And I think, again, Buffalo has nobody on that team that excites me anymore. You can say they still have Shady McCoy. Well, Shady McCoy has had some off-the-field issues that I think is plaguing him on the field. I got to go with Green Bay this week. John?
How crazy would it be if Buffalo goes into Lambeau after going into Minnesota and dominates another team in the NFC North? I don't think it's going to happen.
I think Bronson would fucking nut on himself.
If they fucking beat the Packers, we're gonna make our entire podcast next week about the Bills.
We're gonna talk about the history, the ups and downs. We're just gonna suck the
Tyrod,
Bills' dicks.
the whole nine yards.
But with that said, I think the Packers get back on the winning track. I think they're gonna get it done in Green Bay.
Absolutely. All right. Texans at Colts, Lucas Oil Stadium, Indianapolis, indoors.
It's a tough one.
I know. As much as I want the Texans to win, I think Bill O'Brien has overstayed his welcome. I don't think he is the coach of the future for the Texans. As much as he's improved for Deshaun Watson, I think absolutely. I think the Andrew Colts, led by Frank Wright, win. I think it's going to be a close game, though. And I think after this game, if the Colts pull it out, which they should, I think the Colts might make a trade for Le'Veon Bell and get that running back that they fucking need, that they desperately have needed. Bronson?
Yeah, the two teams I got taking Le'Veon are the Colts or the Texans, man. And I do agree with you on the Bill O'Brien era stuff. He has definitely skated by, and he got a free hall pass when they got Deshaun, and he played as well as he did last year. I got to take the Colts. It's hard to bet against Andrew Luck right now with him being back in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a guy who is Captain Comeback. So what bigger comeback than having multiple shoulder surgeries and being told that you might not be able to even grip a football, let alone play NFL-style football anymore. So, John?
Yep, I got to go Colts too. They came close. They should have got it done last week in Philly. They let that one down. They're back at home. I think Deshaun Watson still has a solid game, but like what we talked about earlier, without no running game, you just can't get it done. I know the Colts don't really have a stellar running game as well, but I can't see the Texans winning right now. So give me the Colts.
All right, Dolphins, the 3-0 Dolphins, probably the biggest shock of the NFL. Actually, not to me. Of course, I knew that the Dolphins were going to go 3-0 to start the year. That's just obvious. Anybody else who thought they were going to start like 0-3 or 1-2, are idiots. But no, the Miami Dolphins going to New England, sunny Gillette Stadium, Foxborough, Massachusetts. New England are still the favorites, even though the Dolphins are 3-0. I tell you what, after all the shit we talked about the Patriots, after all the shit we said about them not looking athletic, them looking terrible. I still got to go with the Patriots at home. And I think it's because Tom Brady, after having a terrible game, is going to come back and he's going to be, you could say he's mentally checked down. He's got his rings, whatever the case may be. But Tom Brady is a competitor. Tom Brady is probably one of the most fired up guys to have ever laced up some cleats. And I don't think he's going to go out and with a whimper. I think he's going to play this game and they're going to come out with a big bang and they're going to win. John?
It's going to be an interesting game. I believe Josh Gordon's going to get that start this Sunday, so it'll be nice to see him in New England, see what he can do with Tom Brady. It is hard to see the Patriots falling to 1-3. Man, this is a tough one. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'm going to go with the Patriots. Why not?
All right. And Bronson?
I'll tell you this, there's one team in the AFC East that beats the Patriots the most, and it's the Miami Dolphins. I take the Dolphins. They win by fucking 5 points.
Just a couple mixed extra points, whatever the case may be.
Throwing a safety in there. Feel safety action.
Jets, Jaguars, Jacksonville, lots of J's. So, of course, we're going to start off with the J-Man. John, who you got?
This is also a tough one. I mean, the Jaguars, they just very inconsistent. They took care of business against the Patriots a couple weeks ago, but then they dropped the ball last week. They don't look like they are very exciting to watch right now. But if Leonard Fournette comes back, that offense could get it going. I am going to have to go with the Jets on this one, though.
Oh wow, that's a big.
That's
a big pick.
Bring it.
Oh, I love it. I love the picks. I am not as brave as you. I think the Jaguars, again, one of those games where they should have won last week. I think they slept on the Titans. I think they are missing Leonard Fournette. But I think if they get Leonard Fournette to come back this week, even if they don't get him to come back, the Jets' defense still doesn't impress me. Even though they played pretty good, they still haven't impressed me enough. I don't think they have enough pass rushers. Even though they've got Leonard Williams, they still need another dominant pass rusher. I'm going to go Jaguars this week. Bronson?
Yeah, I really want to take the Jets, but I have to take the Jags. The Jags are going to give Sam Darnold the learning experience. He's going to have a rough night, a real rough night, and it's going to be the game that he goes home and really, really just lets sink in. And that's about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Bronson, you're up now with the bracket pick. The 4:00 games, the beginning of the 4:00 games. It's going to be the Cleveland Browns with the Baker Mayfield-led quarterbacked team of the Cleveland Browns going into Oakland at the shittiest stadium in the NFL, the Oakland Coliseum, against the Oakland Raiders. Bronson, who you got? Trap game, baby. Yeah, I love these trap games. There's literally been, I think, 5 trap games in a row with the Bills and Packers, Texans, Colts. Yeah, this is the 5th trap game in a row.
I really believe, I'm a big believer in the John Gruden ship just being lit on fire.
I think everybody is at this point.
But I'm also a big believer in the Cleveland Browns. And fuck. All right. Cleveland's played better on defense. They've had a better running game. They have better wide receiver play right now. Who the fuck is Antonio Callaway? But this is the game Derek Carr couldn't lose. And the Browns just won, so they're bound to lose right after just winning. Or do they win again and cause pandemonium? Fuck! Alright, you make me go first. I can't even feed off you on this, you bitch.
No, you go first, my friend.
All right. Well, let's make a note in the records. I heard you typing earlier. Make a note. Bronson went first, so extra points if he's right.
No, you don't get extra points. There are no extra points, motherfucker. You don't get a sensu bean, bitch. Like, let's go.
Fuck, man. Raiders win.
Oh wow.
Raiders win. Win.
I pegged you as the Browns, but wow. Okay.
Yeah, I have to. I fuck. Like, I really like. I'm like 51-49 on this right now. But I think I need to go with the Raiders. They lost a really tough game to Miami.
They've lost Browns, 3 tough games in a row. Like, yeah. The first game they got their asses kicked, but the second and third games, those are just poor coaching errors that caused them to lose those games.
I see them winning. They played really solid last week on offense, and I could see it happening. Martavius Bryant is like itching to do something, so I feel like him. He's gonna have an impact, and I feel it in my gut. Like, they brought him back, they fucking wasted a pick on his ass. He better do something. Yeah, I see Raiders winning. It's gonna be close. It's Baker's first full game. The Raiders are gonna game plan for him. Yeah, I'm gonna go Raiders.
All right, John, you're up next.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go with the Browns only because I know last week, Baker Mayfield wasn't really the playing quarterback to come into the game, so it's hard to prepare for a quarterback that you're not expecting to see come into the game. But I mean, the way he was moving the ball, I mean, he was just sitting back in the pocket and just slinging it downfield. He looked so comfortable. I know they have to travel all the way on the West Coast, but I give me the Browns. Give me another win for the Cleveland Brownies.
I do have to agree though with Bronson. This is probably, I think, the biggest toss-up of the week. Just because realistically, this could come down to a field goal. Which, how apropos would it be? I'm gonna pick the Browns, but how apropos would it be if the Browns and the Raiders are tied and it comes down to like a 60-yard field goal? For the Raiders, they miss it because they gave up Janikowski, and instead the Browns go down and then kick a 60-yard field goal to win the game to come full circle with everything in Oakland. So I got the Browns this week. So next game I got starting Seahawks, University of Phoenix Stadium, Glendale, Arizona against those Arizona Cardinals. Seahawks are under 3 favorite. I'm going to go Seahawks. Again, this Cardinals team is going to struggle. Is Sam Bradford starting this week? Everybody can confirm that?
Rosen starting, I believe.
Is Rosen starting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rosen's starting. Even with Josh Rosen starting, I think the Seahawks team, even though they've given up a lot of their Legion of Boom guys, this is still a scary defense. You saw it last week against the Dallas Cowboys. Seahawks. Bronson.
I'm going to have to take the Seahawks. I think Rosen's actually going to play really well. I think we're going to be like comparing his opening performance to Allen's performance to Baker's. I think all 3 of their starts are going to be put under a microscope here. And I could see Rosen passing for like 250 yards. Solid game for him. Maybe a touchdown to Christian Kirk or Larry. But I don't see the Seahawks losing this game. There's no fucking way they go 1-4.
Yeah, absolutely. John?
I'm going to have to agree with both of you guys. I think Seahawks get it done. Rosen, I also think, does have a pretty solid game. Even though he was thrown in at the very end of the game last week, he did make some impressive throws before that interception that ended the game. But I like you guys, I just can't see the Seahawks losing this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Quickly down the line, Saints going to MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey, going up against those New York Giants. I'm going up first. I'm going to go Saints. I think Drew Brees is going to go in there. This might be one of the few times where you get to see 2 two older guard quarterbacks, two gunslingers of the old age between Drew Brees and Eli, probably play their final games against each other. And, I think the Saints pull away with the win. I'm going to go 35-20, New Orleans Saints. John?
Going to go with the Saints too. Drew Brees, my savior last week in our fantasy league.
Fucking Stephon Diggs.
He's hot, and I just don't see him slowing down. Give me the Saints.
Bronson?
Okay. I think this game is not as easy as y'all made it just sound to predict. Saints are at home?
No, Saints are away at MetLife.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I thought. I don't want to talk. I don't want to discredit how fucking bad the Saints have been on defense. They have, ever since the Minnesota game in the playoffs, I don't know what the fuck it is. Is it keeping them all up at night? I don't fucking know. But I think this is Saquon's breakout performance, and I think the Giants win, man.
Oh, wow. Going with the upset.
Yeah, I think Saquon gets 150, maybe 200.
It's a possibility.
And then you got fucking Odell over there, and I could see Eli getting sacked a couple times, just like he did this week against the Houston Texans. But
just be careful, because, and I don't know if you saw this or not, but Giants this week are going to be without. They're going to be without Olivier Vernon, Evan Ingram, and one other guy. I forget who. They're going to be without.
Well, Vernon's on defense, and they're already playing pretty mediocre on defense. I'm not too worried about
Apple. So, but yeah, those are starters.
Those are defensive pieces. I didn't say anything. I think that the Giants' offense is going to outperform the Saints one. And I boldly believe that the only offensive weapon you told me there was Evan, and Evan hasn't really done anything all season. He hasn't contributed, and it's not like he was posting career high numbers and then got hurt. I mean, he wasn't doing anything anyway, and the Giants have always been used to not having a tight end after Jeremy Shockey left. So, I don't know. I just see this being a coming out party for Saquon. He's been getting talked about quietly, but he hasn't been getting talked about. And I think this is the game that puts him over the top. I think he's gone up against some pretty damn good front sevens the last couple weeks, and this is the one that he's going to pick apart at home. Yeah, it's gonna. Yeah.
Okay.
See.
All right. 49ers going to play at probably again the shittiest stadium in all the NFL. They should just tear it down. I know it's a soccer stadium, but just move the fucking Chargers back to San Diego. They're gonna be playing at the StubHub Center against the Chargers. John, just 49ers.
I can't go with the 49ers.
Chargers. I should say Chargers. I should say.
Yeah, definitely Chargers. Losing Garoppolo was a huge blow. CJ Beathard, I don't think he gets it done. I don't know. Give me the Chargers, man.
Yeah, same here. I got Chargers. 49ers.
Yeah, Chargers move on.
Yeah, there's not much to say about this game. Watch. We're going to be there's not much to say about this game. And then next week, this whole podcast is going to be dedicated about how the 49ers went out there and threw 6 touchdowns and fucking CJ Beathard's a god among men and suck my dick, call me Shirley. All right, final game on Sunday, the Sunday night football game. Ravens going to Heinz Field full of ketchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bronson, you're up first. Who you got?
Well, you pick who to talk first pretty fucking well. You strategize this shit, man.
No. So basically,
it feels like you do.
No, so basically, I start down the list and I go with me first, then Bronson, John, and I was gonna have guest, and then I was gonna alternate between. So the next picks or whatever, we're gonna go me, Bronson, John. It was gonna go me, Bronson, John, guest, and then guest, me, Bronson, John. Then John guessed me, Bronson, and so on and so forth. But obviously, we don't have a guest this week. So
all right, you broke it down for me. Steelers, man. We're going to the land of ketchup. Ravens again, like top 5 worst team in the NFL. Book it, mark it, stamp it, whatever you want to do it. Get it notarized. It's gonna happen. Maybe the Ravens will finally draft an offensive lineman and keep them. I don't know. Maybe they should try that out for once. I don't know. Sorry, John. I love you. Don't hate me.
Over there, like, all right, come on, bring it.
It's Steelers, man. The Steelers are hot. They're feeling good. They just fucking beat Fitz Magic. They held him off. They got the monkey off their back. And Ravens let their divisional opponents' number 1 receivers run all over them every year. So look for Antonio Brown to be like, yeah, finally like in the offense, like I'm doing my thing. I want to go do a Buffalo Wild Wings commercial. I'll be right back. All right. So look for that. Steelers win.
All right, John.
All right. So the biggest question mark with this game is the Ravens are still without Jimmy Smith, and Jimmy Smith is one of the few guys that can always shut down Antonio Brown. So whenever he's not playing, Antonio Brown always goes to town against the Ravens defense.
Thank God my fantasy team needs it.
And I mean, on my fantasy team, I got Antonio Brown. So I mean, it's a weird week for me. So, if I'm not sure who they're going to pin up against Antonio Brown. I don't think Brandon Carr can get it done. Marlon Humphrey has been pretty solid. But, I mean, without Jimmy Smith, unless they can keep the pass rush going against Big Ben, I mean, it's going to be a tough game. I still think it's going to be another close one as Ravens-Steelers games go most of the time every year. But I can't bet against the Ravens, and I'll never pick the Steelers, so give me the Ravens.
It's just like me with the Cowboys, and I'm not even gonna be biased when I say this. Bronson with the Packers, like it'll never happen where we pick the other team.
Dude, if you would have asked me week 1 who was gonna win, I was gonna tell you Packers every single time.
Really?
I'm an honest fan to myself, man. I will always pick the Packers to beat us versus the Bears beating the Packers.
Yeah, but then that way when you're surprised and the Bears do beat the Packers, you're not like, oh well, we should have won that game. You're like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm gonna talk all this shit now. So
oh no, dude, I lose my shit. You remember when Josh McCown beat the Packers in Green Bay, dude? I think I about rioted.
So
just about.
Yeah, this is gonna be another classic AFC North matchup. Ravens Steelers are always fun to watch, but I do think that the Steelers have the hot hand. I'm gonna go Steelers, and then Monday night game, got the Chiefs versus the Broncos. They're gonna be at Bronco Stadium at Mile High Field. I don't know why it's just not called Mile High Field. That's just stupid, but I think. I'm up first. Mile High Mahomes is going to he's going to throw his first interception, but I also think he's going to throw for 4 touchdowns. I think he's going to throw for 300 yards like what he's been doing. He hasn't really been throwing for 400, 500 while he's having these dominant pass performances. He's just he's making plays, but not making stupid, downfield throws. And I don't know if you've seen film of him, but one of his touchdown throws that he made this past week made me just salivate and made me basically jizz in my pants, where he was getting chased down in the pocket, ran 30 yards all around.
I fucking saw it, yeah.
Ran to his right, threw off of his back foot, and threw the most prettiest back foot pass, like just absolutely, like you couldn't have thrown a better pass. And it got to his guy without missing a beat, anything like that. It was gorgeous. Chiefs in this one. Bronson.
Chiefs. Move on. Yeah.
And John.
Yeah, I think there's just no way you could bet against the Chiefs right now. Mahomes getting it done. He's the man. I don't think the Broncos are that good of a team right now, so give me the Chiefs, baby.
All right, and because we do these podcasts on Friday, We're looking about changing the dates just depending on our schedule.
Thursday. Don't forget the Thursday game, fucker.
Yep. We are doing the Thursday game. We're doing the extra pick this week, the Thursday night Week 5 game. I've already got it up here. By the way, I forgot to mention, too, this week we're also having bye weeks, I guess. It is Week 4, but Redskins and Panthers are on their bye weeks. That's going to cause some mayhem for the Redskins because those early season bye weeks just seem to just fuck everything up.
You got a new quarterback in there, man. Let him learn.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's, I like bye weeks to be a little bit later. That gives an extra week for guys to get healthy. It gives an extra week that, you can figure out what your team's doing. You know more about your team when you have a later bye week, but neither here nor there. All right, Thursday night game, Week 5 matchup. It's going to be the Indianapolis Colts at the New England Patriots. Short week for both teams. Again,
all right, go ahead.
And you are last. Last.
Good.
So, Colts, Pats. I picked Patriots to win this Sunday. I think the Patriots win again at home this Thursday as well. I think Tom Brady has another classic game. I'm not saying that this is not going to be a fantastic game. It will be. These Thursday night games, I know I shit on them a lot because they were kind of boring, but man, these last few weeks of Thursday night games, especially this year, have been fucking amazing. They have been just incredible. So, give me more Thursday night football goodness between the Pats and the Colts. John?
I'm going to have to agree, man. I mean, the Thursday night games have been pretty juicy this year so far. I have to take the Patriots at home, though.
All right, Bronson, with your licking of your lips, with the rubbing of your fingers, with the jacking of the off, go ahead.
All right, so I already set the story a little while ago. Talked about how Josh McDaniels completely fucked the Colts. All right, Chris Ballard, the GM of the fucking Colts, came out and pretty much just said, "We're gonna fucking murder you." That's he might as well have said that. He was like, just, "You're a terrible everything, and I can't wait to fucking play you." This is a big, big, big game. All right, this is a big game for the Colts. They want to feel good. The entire staff on that team was vultured from the Patriots. A good percentage of the coaches on that team were Patriots coaches. Do not forget that, guys. They're pissed. They're mad. They were misled. They were betrayed. Okay, there's this huge fucking premise that no one's going to talk about it, and I am here to talk about it. If the Patriots win next week against, I already forget who we talked about, Miami. If they win against Miami, they are definitely losing this game. If Miami does beat the Patriots, I also see, and I'm going to do it, I'm taking the fucking Colts. They're going to win, goddammit. Andrew Luck is going to have his best game of the season against the fucking very lame Patriots defense. He's going to probably throw for 400 yards. Fucking Brady's going to do probably close to the same. Josh Gordon is going to have a monster game. This is going to be the game that everyone gets set into their groove. The Patriots are going to be running on all four fucking cylinders on offense. Josh Gordon's going to look like Randy Moss. He's going to be doing all those things. Fucking Andrew Luck's going to look like nothing ever happened. It's going to be a hell of a game, and I think the Colts are going to just get their fucking... That is going to be their consolation price to losing Josh McDaniels.
Yeah,
I take Colts.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun Week 5. That's definitely beginning Week 5 matchup that I'm excited to see. So, well, that's it. We talked about all the topics. We have been on this Skype call for 2 hours and 22 minutes talking about football. We've actually been here longer. We've been here for about Bronson and I have been here for about 2 hours and 40 minutes. John's been here about 2.5 hours. So
yeah, quit taking shits, John.
It's Pizza Friday, man.
So, all right. So that about does it for this one. We're gonna wrap up. Like I said, very long. My throat's throat's a little sore now. It's not from sucking dick either. It's from doing some hardcore podcasting. John, where can the fine people of the podcasting world find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram at NERRRICH. That's 3 R's in the middle. Don't know why it's that, but that's the way it is.
I've always said, man, that you should go to necromancer because you got that beard. You know, you're kind of majestical in a way. You know, I've always thought that. But regardless, Bronson, where can the fine people of Podcast Land find you?
You can find me at my restaurant, Slaving in the Kitchen, Day. All right, that's where I always am. If you want to come get some fine-ass food that I get from local farmers, come hit me up. Not really, though. You can find me at Bronsonius on Twitter. That's Bronson, IOUS. It's my Greek surname. Chose it myself. And then on Instagram, you can find me at Chefman Bronson because I'm literally a chef. So find me, add me, love me, at me because you can't talk football better than me. God damn, that was good.
All right, and you can find me, of course, at all capitals or first few letters OG capital, and then lowercase Liquid Jesus. That's LIQUIDJESUS. You can also find dickhole. You can also find the podcast, like I said earlier, at Infraction.com. Want to give a shout out to there's also another podcast out there called the Neutral Zone Infraction as well. They're at NZ Podcast. They are a pretty good podcast as well. They mainly talk about Ravens football. It's weird too because they're based in Maryland. We got 2 Maryland boys here, and
they completely disagree with everything that I say. So like,
probably they probably so.
Don't listen to that. But hey, let me take over real quick. Chef Man Bronson will be also running an account for us as well on Instagram. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I'm trying to post on there, whether it be beard pics of John or me drinking, which I do often. I don't really know. I'm trying to work on it. I will be taking over that, and I will also be taking over am I taking over the Twitter account? I don't know. I tweet on it sometimes. I have good thoughts.
So we all have access to the Twitter account, but I want you to be in charge of social media. So
yeah, I can tweet my ass off. I got lots of opinions.
I bet you do. All right, people. You can catch this podcast at Podbean. You can also catch this podcast on iTunes. We are on iTunes as well, thank God. Once we reach 5 episodes, you can catch us on Spotify as well. For all you lovely people, signing off, it is your boy Max, your boy John, your boy Bronson. Have a good night. See ya.
Baby.
Peace.